comes burning through. Wamkele, 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 kele, wamkele, wamkele for sure. Wamkele, wamkele, wamkele comes burning through. Wamkele.
All right. Very good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you to everybody who's logged in already on this Thursday morning. The clock's just gone 10 o'clock. We are live. My name is Dan. I'm the founder of Excel Academy, and it is so awesome to be with you here this morning. So thank you for giving us your time and your attention. In return, I promise you, we are going to give you as much practical, exciting, useful, valuable insights, techniques, shortcuts, and best practices when it comes to Excel as possible. All right. So I'm actually joining you live from Cape Town, and I've been here for the last few days, and it's always fun and always special to be down in Cape Town. We had a conference yesterday. Many of you registered for this masterclass yesterday at the HR Works conference. So welcome to all of you who have joined us from Cape Town. And let's open up the chat. It would be awesome to hear from you. So pop up the line in the chat. Let us know who you are, where you are, and what you're looking forward to about today's session. All right. Also, a very warm welcome to my partner, Avi. Avi's joining us from his home office in Joburg. Quite a lot warmer than down here in Cape Town. I was freezing this morning. So welcome to Avi, and great to have you on board as always. By the way, all of you watching, drop us a line in the chat. If you've just joined us, let us know where you are. And you also have the ability to react. You can give us a Zoom reaction, a thumbs up, a heart, a laughing face. Let us know how you are feeling by clicking on the react button at the bottom of your Zoom window. That's great. I see those hearts and thumbs up coming through. Good to see that. And okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to drop the downloads folder and the link into the Zoom chat. Abby will pop those there if he hasn't already. And we are going to be hands-on and practical as always with our training. We are hands-on. We're not just watching the show. You can just watch if you are unable to actually open up Excel and do the work with us here today. But that's second prize. First prize is if you're actually doing the work with us as we go. That's how you're going to have the most interactive and experiential and effective learning experience here today, just like learning to ride a bicycle, actually getting onto the bicycle and playing and practicing as we go. That being said, if you're just watching, you can watch the recording as well. So the good news is we are recording this. We're actually, if you notice somewhere on your screen, it should be flashing red that we're recording. We're also streaming live onto YouTube, not for anyone watching live on YouTube, but so that it's there as a recording. So there will be a recording on YouTube, which will be available to you to watch and to revise and to recap, or just in case you have to step out early from this particular live session. All right, a big warm welcome to Michelle, who's joining us from Cape Town, and we got Tawanda joining us from Stanton. Welcome to you. You're in the fintech space. We also have Adele joining us from Belleville. We got Vuyani joining from WeWork in Stanton, and lots more of you. We've got about 50 of us so far. There were about 140 people who registered. So welcome to everyone who's joining. We're going to dive right into it. And let's open up I'm going to click on the WeTransfer link just to simulate what you guys will see. Okay, let's make sure that we are sharing the correct window and sound. Okay, so here's the WeTransfer link that I've just clicked. All right. On my second screen, where the battery actually seems to be dying, so might have a technical issue halfway with the second screen, but we'll cross that bridge. What I'm going to do is just open up this download folder, and here you can see you've got 4 PDFs in the folder, and they're your keyboard shortcuts cheat sheet, depending on whether you're on PC, Mac, or in Google Sheets. There's also our rate card for our Excel courses, and then there's the data over there. Just in the meantime, I'm going to actually open up the PDF of the cheat sheet, and let's move it across to this screen. You can actually, it's quite a nifty shortcut to use, and Abby will pop this into the chat. In order to reconfigure your windows on your screens, you can use your mouse and you can go here and you can say, okay, I want this on the left or right or top left or whatever. Or you can actually use Windows and the arrow keys. So there I've just pressed Windows and the up arrow, and that actually expands my window into the full screen there. But I don't want this, all these tools and all these paraphernalia around here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to menu, I'm going to go to view, and you can see here that I can go into read mode with Control H or full screen mode with Control and L. Okay, so for example, Control H goes into read mode, Control L might be even better in full screen mode over there. Okay. Cool. So there we have our keyboard shortcut cheat sheet. You might have a physical hard copy of this, but otherwise you can actually print this out. It's got 2 pages. The first page has some navigation, selection, and formatting shortcuts. And then we've got our alphabetical control shortcuts on page 2, as well as the F key shortcuts at the bottom of page 2. So very, very handy. And I'm going to navigate back to the other window that I was working on, and I use Alt and Tab to do that, to navigate between different applications. Okay, Alt and Tab, and now I'm going to open up my Excel data. All right, there's my Excel data. I'm going to click Enable Editing. All right, because it's blocking it because it came from a downloaded link. So it's just being a little bit careful to avoid any potential viruses or issues with downloaded files. All right, and something you'll notice over here is that we've got a lot of data. So always important to have a bit of an orientation session around our data before we just dive in or before we get overwhelmed and panic. We want to take a deep breath, try and figure out what we're actually looking at here. So if we do exactly that, we'll see that we've got first name, then we've got last name, we've got mobile number. You'll see that this data is completely unformatted. All these numbers, these are getting squashed. So we've got this E plus scientific format. We don't really like that. Got this progress column over here. You might be thinking to yourself already, these should be in percentage format. We've got a sign-in count. We've got last activity. We've got SAST. What does that stand for? And then we've got member since. You'll also see that the columns are all that narrow default width. Okay, we'd like the columns to be wider to be able to fit all the data so we can read what we're actually looking at. And maybe we'd like the colors and bold, just make it look a lot more legible and presentable and professional, more usable. We want it to tell a story. You'll see that there's an organization column on the far right-hand side as well. So we have a total of 10 columns. And how many rows of data do we have? We can work that out very quickly. And I'm going to ask you before I tell you, what's the keyboard shortcut to jump to the very bottom of our data? Any idea? How do we jump quickly using a keyboard shortcut to the very bottom of our data here? Anyone in the chat going to let me know? Keyboard shortcut. Got to make sure that you are alive, awake, and alert there in the audience. Can't see your faces. I'm waiting for something in the chat. Mohammed, brilliant. Control and down. Thank you so much, Mohammed Karim. And Tabatso says the same thing. Control and the down arrow. Okay, I want you to give me a thumbs up if that's something new for you and you've never actually used that keyboard shortcut before. I do see that. I saw something in the chat. It's gone away. Okay, control and the down arrow teleports me. We call it the teleporter shortcut key. Control and the down arrow. I see a few thumbs up coming up, meaning that you guys are learning something new here, which is great. Control and the down arrow, and the opposite of that is control and the up arrow to take me all the way to the top of my data. Control left to take me all the way to the left. Control right to take me to the right. Okay, control down, and we can play around with that for a few seconds and more in your own time. Okay, but this is brilliant. When I was working at my first job as an actuary, this was pretty much the first keyboard shortcut that I learned. My boss used to push me out the way. He used to say, I'm hijacking your computer and I'm going to show you. And he would go on the keyboard. And this was always something that he used. And I thought it was so amazing how he could just jump and sort of teleport all the way to the top or bottom or right or left of his enormous data set and models. All right, so it's really a game changer because otherwise you're going to be using your finger and the mouse and the wheel and then you're going to be scrolling like this, and it's just going to take you way, way, way too long. Or even with page down or page up, it just takes way too long. Another very handy shortcut key is Control and Home. All right, so Control and the Home button teleports us to A1. Okay, we want to go all the way home, just like on Waze or Google Maps. Control and Home, and it takes us all the way back to the start. And the opposite of Control Home is Control End. That takes us to the last cell that's been used in this particular spreadsheet. All right, so these are some of the navigation shortcuts to help us to find our way around much quicker. All right, and what you'll be glad to see is that these navigation shortcuts are here on your cheat sheet. We've got control and the arrows, we've got page up or page down, we've got control home or control end, and we have control page down or control page up to actually switch between the worksheet tabs. At the moment, we can see that we have only one sheet tab. It's called sheet one. We can change the name to data. It's always best practice to name our spreadsheet tabs, and also best practice to save our work in a location which is traceable and shared and saved in the cloud and synchronized across our team. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that this is not a read-only file from a zipped folder. We actually want to save this in a location which makes sense and which is backed up. So I'm going to press F12 on my keyboard. On your keyboard, you might need to press FN and F12. So holding down the FN key and pressing F12. It actually depends on your keyboard. And what I'll do is I'll show you over here my keyboard. Shift my camera around here, and you can see there that I've got the function key. And for me to lock the function key in place, I actually have a little code over there, function and escape, to lock this. And you can see the little light is on over there. Okay, so I don't have to press function and F12 in order to get me the F12. I can just press function because I've activated that. So you can just play around with the settings, specific settings on your keyboard. All right. And maybe if you're on a big keyboard, like I usually am at my desktop setup, I've got a big keyboard, and then I've got the extra number pad on the right-hand side, and I've got the F keys, which work by default. And I don't even think I've got a function key on that keyboard. All right, so just have a look at that yourself. Okay, what I'm going to do is, what did I do there? I quickly went home, pressed home, and then I'm going to press Control. If I press Control right arrow, you'll see it jumps me word by word within that name, or I can press Control Shift right arrow, and it actually selects word by word. Okay, so this is, you can use this anywhere. In any time you're typing text in Word, in Outlook, in wherever you are, you can use this shortcut Control and Shift and the arrow keys left or right to select a word at a time. So I'm going to take out the copy of, and then I'm going to go to the end. So I press end, and then I'm going to put my initials. All right, but you'll see that this is currently in this local temp folder, and that's because it's in a zipped folder, which I downloaded from WeTransfer. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to save it in a Dropbox folder in our Dropbox. For me and Avi, our shared Dropbox, you can see we've got a bunch of subfolders here. You'll actually see we've got monthly masterclass for this year. We've got every month our masterclass. So what I've done is I'll go up a folder. I pin the subfolder to my quick access on the left. That's last month, and this is this month. You just have to right click and say pin to quick access, and it'll pin it there. It'll give you quick access. It'll save you time. And this is today's folder over here, and I'm going to save it in downloads. There's the original file. So now I know I've got the original file as well as my file that I've worked on with my initials. So this is called version control, and it really is very, very important indeed to develop good habits, to save things, and to avoid the snot and trana when we lose our work because of battery dying or our computer crashing or whatever else happens. All right, guys. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a bit of a warm-up before we actually dive into manipulating, cleaning up, visualizing, summarizing and analyzing this actual data. We're going to do a little warm-up. And in order to do a warm-up, we want a new sheet. We want some space. So I'm going to click on this little plus button, and that creates a new sheet tab. You can then right-click, and I can rename it. I can move it. I can change the tab color if I want. I can do all sorts of things here. I can also move it to the side and I can also delete it if I want. Okay, so we can work with these multiple sheet tabs, and we can also insert a new sheet tab by pressing Shift and F11. So holding Shift and pressing F11, and there's my new sheet tab, and I'm going to call it warm up. All right. And what I want you to do in this warm up in the next, I think I'll give you 15 seconds. I sometimes give people 10 seconds, but I'll be a bit generous with you guys. In 15 seconds, I want you to create a list from 1 to 20 in column A, and your 15 seconds starts now. Gives me a chance to have a sip of coffee. You got 5 seconds left. How's your list going? 2, 1. All right, pens down, as they say in school. Okay, who was able to build a list from 1 to 20? All right, drop me a line in the chat. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, I see a few thumbs up. All right, drop me a line in the chat if you were able. Say me. I can see who it is. All right, and also what you can do is you can, well done, Linda. Tell me, how did you do it, Linda? What did you do? Did you do it manually or did you use a trick? Bongi, well done. All right, who's going to tell me what they did? Dragged. Okay, Linda, I think what you mean is you probably put the 1 and the 2 and you dragged. Okay, excellent. So we'll type the 1 and the 2, we'll select both of them, and we'll click and we'll drag down to 20. Fantastic. Okay, so if that's something new and amazing that you've just discovered, give us a heart. You can react with a heart. I'd love to see if that is new for anyone. All right. And okay, there we go. There's some hearts. Great stuff. What else can we do this for, Linda? Is it just numbers, counting numbers like this, or are there other patterns? Okay, Vilna Potgieter, I'm glad to hear from you as well that you do it this way. Are there other patterns, dates as well? Well done, Vilna. Excellent. Now, did you know that there's a keyboard shortcut to punch in today's date? Instead of typing manually 18 September like that, what we're going to do is we're going to use Control and the semicolon. Control and the semicolon. Semicolon is next to the letter L on your keyboard. Control and the semicolon punches in today's date. Something you'll notice if you have Copilot Enterprise is you start getting this Copilot pop-up. Okay, so there we go. We can start chatting with Copilot. We can hide until I reopen the document if we just want to hide it over there. Let's leave it for now. Okay, and we'll have a look at some AI a little bit later. So that's to look forward to. Once we have today's date in there, that's great, because then what we can do is we can click and drag, or I'm going to undo that. I can actually double click on the bottom right corner. Did you guys know that? Double click on the bottom right corner, the little full handle, the little plus, and it snaps it all the way down to the bottom of my list. How far did it go? It looks at column A and it sees that column A has 20 items. So it pulls it down. All right. And what's brilliant is, have a look at this. You got your autofill options. So you can either copy the cells and make it 18 September all the way down, or you can say fill the series, okay, just like it was by default, or you can say full weekdays, so it will skip over the weekend, or you can say full month, so it's the 18th of every month, or full years, so it's the 18th of September every year, okay, and we can go back to the default, which was full series. Isn't that nice? Okay, intuitive and smart, and it helps us to work smarter and avoid mistakes. Next thing I want to do is, Linda said month. That's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to say it's now September. I'm going to type SEP, and there you can see that I can drag it all the way down, or I can double click and it fills it all the way down to April, which is great. We might want to copy cells instead, because these are all September, the first 13. All right. And then the next 7 must be October. What we can do is we can type OCT over there, and then we can double click and we can copy cells. But that's a bit slow, a bit long-winded for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Control Z a couple times. All right. If I've Control Z, if I press undo a few too many times, I can undo the undo. So I can redo by pressing Control Y, redo what I just did. All right. And what I can do, which I think you'll love, is a brilliant keyboard shortcut. Instead of Control C and then select all the ones that we want to paste into and then Control V, that's not bad. All right. But wouldn't it be nice if we could just fill down in one quick, easy shortcut? So we can do exactly that. So watch what I'm doing. I've typed October or Oct in that cell. I'm then going to press Shift arrow down a couple times, or I can even save time by pressing Control and Shift and down. Okay, Control Shift down. So that snaps me all the way to the bottom and it selects everything along the way. So Control Shift down. And then I'm going to press Control D on my keyboard. Control D, D for down. So that fills down. In other words, copy paste downwards instead of copy and then paste. We just select all the cells and we press Control D and it fills it downwards. Okay. Thank you, Abby, for posting all the shortcuts. Let me show you what I'm talking about here on the cheat sheet. Let's zoom in. There you have it on the second page. Control and D for down, and it's to fill down. And the other option that you have, which is similar to this, is Control R for filling to the right. Okay, so we can do a similar thing when we want to fill something to the right-hand side. Okay, very, very handy. And we are going to do the last little exercise over here, which is we're going to put in today's day, which is Thursday, nearly the weekend. So I'm going to just type THU, all right, and I can double click down and there we go. It fills in the days of the week. Now, if I want to change PHU to Thursday, all right, I can double click in the cell, or I can click in the formula bar, or I can press F2 on my keyboard and F2 takes me into that particular cell. There's a very big difference between being on a cell and being inside a cell. If I just click like this, I'm on a cell. I'm just jumping around from cell to cell. And if I go and double click or press F2, then I go into the cell and then that cursor starts flashing. And then I can edit and say Thursday. And then I can double click and then it completes all the days of the week all the way down. All right. See that? Okay, guys, I want to save my work. So I'm going to press Control S to save, and I'm saving as I go so that I don't lose anything. And now I'm flipping back to the data sheet. And remember, I don't know if you do remember, but on the cheat sheet, it said Control page up and Control page down lets you toggle between the different tabs, the sheet tabs. So Control page up and Control page down is very nifty. All right, guys. So let's move swiftly along. We're going to change gears. Remember, if we are going a little bit too fast, you can always come back and watch the recording and revise. Okay, so we're going to shift gears and we're going to jump into our data here. And what we're going to do is an amazing game-changing keyboard shortcut. You're going to absolutely love this. All right. We are going to convert our ordinary raw downloaded data, our exported data. We're going to convert it into what's known as a table in Excel. All right, so it's an Excel table. All right, you will see this on the Insert tab on the ribbon. By the way, my ribbon is collapsed, so it's partially hidden, and that's because I wanted more space on this particular screen. Okay, so you can always get it back permanently if you double click on a tab. So if you prefer having it there, you can double click, but here you can see that it takes up almost half the screen. So I'm just actually going to leave it like that, double click to collapse it. When I click insert, what you'll notice over here is the third option on the list actually says table, and it's Control and T, and it says create a table to organize and analyze related data. Makes it easy to sort, filter, and format data within a sheet. So we're going to use the keyboard shortcut. We just have to stand on any cell in our data, press Control T, press enter, and there you have it. It's converted our raw data into a beautifully formatted table in Excel. Give me a heart if that's something new, if you like that, and if you're going to use that in your data. Okay, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, lots of hearts. Excellent, guys. Okay. So let's dig a little bit deeper and see what's this table story all about. We can see visually that it looks nice. It formatted it really nicely. We've got this blue and white style, and we've got headings in a specific style format, and we've got the sort and filter buttons. That's nifty. Isn't that nice that we can now click on the sort and filter? We didn't have to manually go and select our data and click filter. Let's put it there automatically. All right. And you'll notice that we've got a special tab called a contextual tab. The contextual tab is here only when we're standing in our data. So don't panic if you're standing outside your data and your tab goes away. That's because you're no longer in your table. So why would it give you table features and functionality if you're outside your table? All right, it's because it's contextual. And the same thing applies when you're working with a pivot table or a chart or a slicer or an object or a shape. Okay, you've got contextual features if you're selecting and you're working inside that particular thing. Okay, so now we're in our table and we have our table design tab. And now we can go and play around with different styles. You might prefer black and white. You can go and look at this whole array of different styles. You might like yellow, you might like orange headings and gray and white striped banded rows. That's quite nice, a bit more subtle. And we're happy with that. We're going to press Control S because we are developing habits, good habits of saving our work consistently. All right, the next thing that we'll see is that we can play around. Let's play around with these little tick boxes. So we got header row, so that hides the headers. For whatever reason, you might want to hide the headers. Okay. Then we got total row. Now, this is a brilliant, brilliant feature. It looks like my Excel is hanging a little bit, but there we go. It's woken up. And we got this total row at the bottom of our table. And isn't this brilliant? This is a way to get quick snapshot calculations and summary statistics for our data without having to program fancy formulas. Okay, so for example, I can see that the count of the number of people or rows is 14,838. Okay, and I can also go to each column and I can do a specific calculation. So I might want to know what's the average progress across all these students in our courses. All right, and we can see that it's 88%. See that this is unformatted. We'll fix that shortly. We can see what's the average number of times that a person signed into the platform. Okay, and what else? We might want to see what's the maximum. Okay, you can see the maximum is somebody signed in 3,269 times, but strange. Okay, it might be a bit of a glitch. All right, and yeah, the sum's not going to mean much to us in this case, so we'll stick with average. Okay, let's go to average. Okay, by the way, you can activate this drop down by actually holding down Alt on your keyboard and pressing the down arrow. Alt and down arrow. If you hold down Alt and down arrow, then you can just use the keyboard, navigate around and pick a calculation. Okay, again, we're going to Control S. Okay, what do you notice here? When we are all the way at the bottom of our data, we can actually still see what the column headers are. Isn't that convenient? First name, last name, mobile number, etc., etc. We can see them and we can still use the drop down for the sort and filter. Okay, have a look here. We can filter for Excel 101. There we go. And it's actually adjusted the answers and we can see that that's been filtered. And this is because we're in table mode. Isn't that brilliant? Okay, we're in table mode, so it automatically freezes the pane and the top row. And now we can see that our data has been filtered. We can see by these blue row numbers down the left-hand side. We can also see the little visual funnel, the little funnel here in the sort and filter button. Okay, so it's a little funnel telling us that this data has indeed been filtered according to this field over here. And what we can do is we can clear the filter from this particular column over here, clear filter. And you'll notice that I've actually customized my quick access toolbar. This is known as the quick access toolbar. I can right click and I can say show above the ribbon. That might be where yours is, right at the top. Okay, I can right click and say show below the ribbon where I can, there's more space. So I can see what the buttons actually are. And you'll see if you go to data, you've actually got this funnel with a little red X. Okay, and you can right click and you can say add to quick access toolbar. I know that I often need this button. So I've put it there on my quick access. It happens to be the second icon, second button. So I can use it quickly and easily by just clicking there. Okay, or even better, I can tap into something which is a magic key. And it's something that we don't usually show people in this monthly masterclass, but I'm feeling generous. And because we're talking about it, I'm going to show you. It's something that we cover in our formal courses. It's actually covered in Excel 101. All right. It's a magic key on your keyboard, which allows you to access any button or feature or command on the whole ribbon in Excel and in all Microsoft applications. Any idea what that magic key is? Who's going to tell me in the chat? I wanted another sip of coffee, so What's the magic key? There we go. Tion, well done. And Bulelwa as well. Well done, guys. You've said it's Alt. If you press the magic Alt key, what you'll notice is it activates all the different tabs and icons on the ribbon. So that we call the magic Alt key. If I wanted to go to the Home tab, I would press H. If I want to activate the clear filter buttons on my quick access, it's the second icon, and that's why it's got a number 2. So I can just now press the 2. So I just tapped Alt, and then I press 2. All right, and when you're working a lot in Excel and in other Microsoft Office applications, you can really start to leverage these keyboard shortcuts to save you a fortune of time. All right, so that's Alt 2. And I can jump back up to the top of my data with Control and the up arrow. Again, I can save my work just because it's good habit. And I can now start working on the actual formatting of the data. So the progress column, we've identified that this should be percentages. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select the entire column. How do I select an entire column? Okay, I can do that using the mouse. You probably know that. I take my mouse and I left click on the actual letter. Okay, so that's quite cool. All right, nothing wrong with that. But the challenge with that is it's actually selecting all 1 million cells, just like if you were to select like that. And by the way, how do we know that there are million cells? We jump to the bottom of our data with Control and the down arrow, and then we press that same shortcut again, Control and the down arrow. It teleports us to the bottom of Excel, which is over 1 million rows, 1,048,576. And we can jump back up with Control up. Okay, so we don't want to format 1 million cells. That's overkill. Okay, we definitely don't want to do that. So what we do instead, we actually stand somewhere in this table, in this column, and we press Control and Spacebar. Control Spacebar. All right, that is where the aliens go to have a drink. They meet their friends and they have a drink at the spacebar. The Control Spacebar is what we use to select an entire column. And then we go to the Home tab and we notice that there's a little percentage icon over there, and Control and Shift and percent. Why is it Shift? Because Shift 5 or Shift percent, that gives us the percentage symbol. So we essentially we're saying Control percentage. Okay, but in order to get Control percent, you have to say Control Shift 5. So it's Control Shift 5. There we go. All right, and that formats our numbers as percent. Let's have a look. Did it do the total? It actually didn't include the total row, okay, which is the 87.9%. So we can do that here as well. Control Shift 5 on the total row. And what we can do as well is to increase the decimals. Okay, we can put 1 decimal place just so we can see it's 87.9%. All right. And then let's move on. Do we need to format the last activity column? And if so, what should we format those numbers as? Who wants to tell me in the chat? What are these strange looking numbers? 43,000 and something, 44,000 and something. What should these be formatted as? Okay, somebody's going to tell me in the chat. Dates. Well done, well done, well done. I see lots of dates coming through. Janine, Hester, Uloa, Sechofatso, Linda, and Bongi. Well done, guys. Okay. Got a few dates to look forward to. All right, so Control Spacebar. There we go. Control Spacebar and Control Shift 3. Okay, Control Shift 3 in order to format them as dates. And what you'll notice here is that this particular date format is the date, the day, then the month, and then the year. Okay, whereas in the formula bar over here, we've got it as year, month, day. And in the warm-up, we also did it as we said control, semicolon, and gave us year, month, day. So don't be too phased by that. It's just the formatting settings. We can always change it. We can overwrite it instead of custom. If we prefer, we can go to that drop down and just say short date, for example. Okay, so let's practice this again. Member since is when this person joined. We're going to press Control Spacebar. Okay, that's not what we want. Okay, Control Spacebar. There we go. I've pressed it once on this column, and I'm going to press again Control Shift 3. And once again, I can go to short date if I prefer short date. Okay, and then for SAST, that is a time number, a time indicator. That means at what time of day was this person last active on our platform. So our platform captures that, and it's between 0 and 1. So 0.5 would be exactly 12 o'clock midday. So these numbers indicate the time. So the way that I format this as time is I press Control Shift 2. All right, you'll be glad to know that all of these are on the first page of your keyboard shortcut cheat sheet. There they are: Control, Shift, and 2 for time, 3 for date, 5 for percentage, and we've got a few others as well. The squiggle, the 1, and the 4. So let's go back and let's play around on the sign-in count column. So I'm going to select the whole of the sign-in count column. If I press Control Spacebar again, okay, then it includes the total row, which is quite nice. And I'm going to play around with Control Shift 1. It puts it as a number with 2 decimal points. Okay. Then Control Shift 2 is for time, 3 is for date, 4 is for currency. My default currency is rands. And then 5 is percentage. And I can go back to general with Control Shift and squiggle. Right. I'm happy with general, but this total number, it has too many decimals for my liking, so I'll press Control Shift 1. So you can see with these keyboard shortcuts how quickly you can format your numbers. And the last one we're going to do on this particular theme is the mobile number. I want you to give me a thumbs up if you've ever encountered a cell phone number that you've punched into Excel where it drops the 0 at the front. Give me a thumbs up if that's been a pain point for you in the past. Okay, lots of thumbs up. All right, that means that you guys are going to enjoy this. And by the way, drop me a line in the chat if you know how to fix this. Okay, drop me a line in the chat if you know how to fix this. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one particular way to format these so that the 0 actually displays. Okay, so I'm going to press Control Spacebar once again. All right, Terfatso said apostrophe in the front. We could do that, but for 15,000 lines of data, it's going to take us way too long. All right, thank you for that, Leanne, as well. Okay, lots of you have said apostrophe, or you can convert to text, but how do you actually get the 0 in there? Yeah, some of you have said that. So it's not so simple, but I'm going to show you a way to actually display the 0. I'm going to select the whole column with Control and Spacebar. I'm then going to press Control 1, which opens up the Format Cells dialog box. And just a reminder, this is here on your cheat sheet, Control and 1. There it is, Control 1. Could have right-clicked and said Format Cells, but we like the keyboard because we're keyboard people. And down the left-hand side, I'm going to go to Custom. And instead of General, by the way, there's a sample. You can see I've got these different preset formats. Okay. Instead of General, I'm going to put in 10 zeros. That's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And as soon as I type in the 10th 0, it puts that first 0 there in front of the other 9 digits. All right, so click OK, and there we go. So it's taken what it thought was an insignificant 0, which it dropped away, and that we've now programmed it so that it always shows that 0. But you'll notice in the formula bar over here that the 0 is still missing. So there's still a 0 missing because if it's a number, the 0 is a waste of space, but we're showing it how we want it displayed. So I'm going to press Control Spacebar again and Control 1 again, just to show you again where I was. Okay, and it's on custom, and I can edit this and tweak it. I might want dashes, and you can see the sample of what it's going to look like if I put dashes. And also, instead of that first 0, I might want a +27. Okay, have a look at that. I've now put a +27. I click OK, and I've now got a custom South African mobile number format for this column. By the way, guys, these are not real, so don't try WhatsApp anyone here on the list. These names are not real either. We've protected all our students' personal info. We jumbled up the names and surnames, so don't worry about that. Okay, guys, I'm going to save my work once again, Control S, and we can now move along to another part of this workshop. Okay, this masterclass session today. And what I want to do is I want to show you our WhatsApp groups, because for me and Avi, we do this on a weekly basis. It's mainly Avi's role and responsibility to manage the progress tracking of our students, because we want to make sure they're actually engaging with our content and completing the training, because it's all accessed online. So what we've got is we've got our WhatsApp groups over here, and I'll show you a demo group. These are some of our clients that we're supporting week on week. And this is an example of what the progress report looks like when we send an update on the WhatsApp group to each of our groups, each of our clients. Okay, so here we've got their names, we've got their progress on 101, progress on 202, progress on 303, and then their overall total progress. So at a glance, each person can see how they're looking. how they're faring, how they're progressing, and management can see, oh, brilliant, everyone's done 101, everyone's done 202, and then we got some progress to make up on 303 and overall 76%. There's the sign-in count, there's the last activity, and there's the membership. So this case study that we're actually looking at here in Excel is actually pretty real. This is what we do. This is what Avi and I do. We want to know what's the overall progress overall, and maybe on the different courses, how does 101 compare to 202, etc., etc. But we also want to be able to sort and filter and format our data for each particular client. So, for example, these are not real. Again, I've just took these from a list online, like of the FTSE 100 or 1,000. You'll see like Walmart. These are all American companies. By the way, I think Walmart's opening in South Africa soon, but that's another conversation for another day. But we might want to send a progress update to Walmart. So how do we send a progress update to Walmart? We can go to the organization column and we can type in WAL, and you'll see there's Walgreen, there's Wallace, there's Walmart, Walt Disney, Walters. We'll need to be a little bit more specific. We put in a dash, and there we go. The dash makes it unique that it's only Walmart that is spelled like that. So we click, okay, and there we go. We now have, these are our 19 people who are at Walmart, who are doing our courses, and their average progress is 84.9%. And here's the list. There's their first name, last name, etc., etc. And what we can do is we can sort this from top to bottom, from largest to smallest. So I can go there and format or filter, sorry, not format or filter. I want to sort this from top to bottom. So there we go. You can see out of 19 people, there's only 5 who are still busy, and the rest of the group have actually finished their courses. And something that you'll notice here in the WhatsApp groups is we've got this really nice formatting, this color coding, the green, yellow, orange, red. So it becomes, people say it's a name and shame. We like to call it a name and praise. We want to praise the people who are doing well. So how do we visually, at first glance, just to look quickly and see, color makes a big difference here to format with color. So what is the technique that I can use in order to format these numbers over here according to their value? Should I do this manually? All right, I can go to the home tab and I can format these in green, and then I can color this one in a bit of a lighter green. All right, is this a smart way of doing it, or is there a better way? What can you tell me? I'm looking for a message in the chat. Bulelwa, well done, well done. I'm going to press Control Z. Control Z, you've said that we should do conditional formatting. We're going to do exactly that. We're going to select the whole column with Control Spacebar, and we're going to go to the Home tab, and we're going to go to conditional formatting, and I might want it on my quick access. So what I can do is I can right click and say add to quick access toolbar, and then anytime I need conditional formatting, I can just click there. And then I can go to color scales. All right, there's a whole lot of different rules. We cover a whole lot of these in our Excel 202 course, which is focused on data analysis techniques and storytelling with data. All right, and I'll just show you one here. That is the green, yellow, orange, red color scale. And that's great because then I can go and copy all of this and send it on the WhatsApp group. So I can do that, Control C, and then go to this WhatsApp group. I can paste it in, and there we go. Isn't that nice? There is a picture, copied and pasted it. So it comes out as a picture, and I can send it, and I can say, well done, guys. I'll send a personalized message there on the group. Okay, I'm not going to send it, but that's what I would do. That's what we do, specifically Avi, most of the time, every week. All right, and it helps with engagement because it ensures that everybody's accountable. So that's great. Another thing that we've touched on briefly here is, and by the way, look how quick and easy this is to switch from Walmart. Let's say, okay, we want to unselect all, and we want to do Abbott Laboratories. Okay, have a look there. Abbott Laboratories. There we can see it's 21 people. They've got better progress, 92.5%. It's messed up the sorting, so we'll just resort it, largest to smallest. There we go. And again, we've got just 5 people who are still busy. Most people are finished. Okay, so isn't that nice? That's quick, easy, accurate, and really, really professional in terms of slicing and dicing, formatting, and visualizing our data. I want to do one other thing within Excel. And then we're going to shift focus to ChatGPT because I want to show you what ChatGPT can actually do in terms of our data analysis, which is really exciting. And more, we're actually training teams and groups on how to partner with ChatGPT. All right, we're doing lots and lots of free masterclasses and workshops and deep dives for specific companies and teams, specifically on AI, how you can partner with AI to improve the productivity and creativity within your team. Okay, but before we get there, what about summarizing this for me and Avi so that we can see at a glance what's the progress of all our students on 101 versus 202 versus 303 versus Outlook Secrets? So what we'll do there is we'll say insert. Okay, and by the way, I must practice what I preach and I must save my work with Control F. I'm going to go to insert and I'm going to hover over a pivot table. All right, the pivot table button, you can see it says easily arrange and summarize complex data in a pivot table. It's going to give me a little summary dashboard. All right, so the table to summarize is table 1. Okay, it's got the whole table selected, which is great, even though I've filtered the data. And where do I want the pivot table to be placed? In a new worksheet. So I click OK. This is where my pivot table will be. All right, and I now need to build it. By the way, I could have gone to recommended pivot tables, and that would have helped. All right, in this case, let's actually do that. Instead of building our own, let's delete that tab. Let's see what it would have done if I said insert recommended pivot tables. Okay, you can see it's thinking. This is Excel's AI functionality, busy thinking. Its brain is going, it's generating the recommendations. And what have we got here? Let's see. Okay, it's busy building out all the recommendations. There we can see it thinking in real time. It's taking a while, but it should be done. There we go. Okay, so it turns out that the first recommendation that it's given us is actually the one that we were talking about and the one that we want, because this is showing us average progress according to the course. All right, so there we got 101, 202, 303, and Outlook Secrets, and then a grand total over there. So we click OK, and there we go. Okay, so there is our pivot table. It's getting a little bit glitchy over there, but that's okay. There's our pivot table, and we can do all sorts of playing around and tweaking around here with our formatting similar to a table. And we can add different fields and we can go really deep into pivot tables, but we don't have time for that today. We deep dive into pivot tables and pivot charts and dashboards in Excel 202. So again, if you are interested in our full courses, we can chat and we'll actually put up a poll just now in the next few minutes to see if you would like to meet with us to discuss our full Excel courses for you, for your team, etc., as well as our AI courses for teams. Okay, and by the way, we've got an AI ChatGPT masterclass, similar format to this. Okay, 1 hour live on Zoom next Thursday at 10 a.m. Very interactive, very practical, and we'll be deep diving into some really cool ChatGPT use cases. All right, and that's next week. All right, so we'll put up a poll shortly. But what I want to show you is let's shift gears to ChatGPT itself. And what I did this morning with Avi in preparation is I thought, wouldn't it be nice if we could test out how good is ChatGPT at analyzing a raw data set like this? So what I did was I actually said, analyze my data, please. I like saying please and thank you. You'll see that, even though you don't necessarily have to, but I like being polite. Okay, keeps me human and builds my relationship with my ChatGPT. So there's my prompt, which is a pretty average prompt. It wasn't a great, like a very detailed prompt, but I asked it to analyze the data set. So I'm going to do this again for you just to show you how simple this is. You will see that I've got ChatGPT Plus. All right, I pay the $23 a month. You might be on Plus, but chances are most people I'm finding these days are still on the free version. So you've got limited functionality. I'm not 100% sure if it will allow you to actually drop in an Excel file. Okay, I'm going to press Windows right to put this on the right-hand side of my screen. Okay, and I've got ChatGPT in the background on full screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag in this file. Okay, and it actually says the file is empty. That's not exactly true. Okay, let me actually just try that again. Okay, very strange that it's saying the file is empty. I'm going to refresh the page. And I'm going to retry. Again, it's saying the file is empty. Okay, it's very strange. I'll try it like this. Add photos and files. It was working this morning. Okay, I'm going to go to monthly masterclass. I'm going to go to the download and I'm going to try this. There we go. Now it's working. Okay, so that's strange. It's a bit glitchy sometimes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Windows V. Because what I want to do is, there we go. There's my prompt that I just copied. And now I'm pasting it in. Analyze my data, please, and give me the key insights. So let's see what it's able to do. There we go. It's busy analyzing. Okay, there it's showing me a preview of the actual data. And within a few seconds, it should give me a pretty good analysis. Okay, so let's give it a bit of time. Okay. In the meantime, I can actually just show you what it did when I was practicing this. So here is a structured analysis of the Excel Masterclass data set. First thing it said is how many learners there are. That's the total. Okay, this is just showing you in terms of data quality. Okay, are there any missing values? Okay, are there duplicates, etc., etc. Okay, this is where we start seeing the actual analysis. So Excel 101 dominates because we've got 8,025 learners. Okay, that's just looking at the uppercase or proper case. Okay, there we got 4,600 people doing 202, 1,200 people doing 303, and 879. And there we go. There's a little, okay, and there is most learners start at 101 with steep drop off at advanced 303. Progress insights, overall mean progress. And by the way, that's an insight for me and Avi to take of how can we get more throughput into 303, because we've seen that 101 has the most number of students, 202 has slightly less, and then 303 people sometimes perceive macros and VBA as a bit too advanced for them. Okay, we've got the overall average progress is 88%. The median progress is 100%. Half of learners complete their course. All right. And then we got 95% Outlook secrets progress. And this is basically our pivot table. So here it's showing us the key statistics, and then it's giving us an interpretation. Completion declines with difficulty. Intro courses are well completed. Advanced courses lose momentum. Okay. There's the number of sign-ins, and there it found the outlier with 3,269 sign-ins, likely system artifacts. All right, a typical learner logs in under a dozen times to finish a course. And then top participating companies are the following, but there's no single client that dominates. And these are the key takeaways. So look how intelligent this is. High completion rates. There's a drop-off at advanced levels. The engagement is efficient. They usually finish within 8 to 10 logins, and the organization base is broad but shallow. Many companies sending small cohorts rather than a few sending big groups. Okay, so then, I mean, remember, this is fictitious, but then how can we, Avi and I might decide or discuss strategically, how can we get more people from some of these big companies? All right, data cleanup is needed. And then it's asking me, would you like me to visualize this with a few quick charts? All right, yes, please. I always joke that my most common prompt on ChatGPT is yes, please, because it's so preemptive and so thoughtful and enthusiastic, eager to please. Here we got a chart showing the number of learners in each course, and then we got a progress distribution across all learners. All right. Okay, so there we go. You can see it hasn't really formatted the numbers yet because it was just a raw file that I dropped in. All right, and you might not like the actual style of sometimes it actually allows you to it's saying interactive charts of this type not yet supported. I've seen charts on ChatGPT where it can allow you to format the colors and etc., but you're not going to get as much functionality as in Excel. All right, then you'll see what I did here a step further, just in case you're interested. Based on this data and prompt, build me a prompt that I can copy paste into here on a weekly basis to analyze my data in meaningful ways as if I was a data analyst presenting to Dan and Avi for management and decision-making purposes. So it actually built me a reusable super prompt. Isn't that amazing? Look at this prompt. I've uploaded the data. Please analyze it as if you are a professional data analyst presenting insights to Dan and Avi for management and decision-making. All right, follow the structure in your analysis. So this is the prompt that I can then paste in. So this is prompt engineering, which is quite an advanced technique. And we teach some of this in our training. And then I was just so curious because inevitably people are asking us, and will continue to ask us, Dan, should I still learn Excel if ChatGPT can do all my work for me? All right. And that's why I actually voice prompted it over here this morning. I said, how would you answer people who, after seeing this question, whether it's still relevant to learn and master the Excel skill that we teach, if ChatGPT can do all of this above? My answer would be that it's still really important to be able to clean up, manipulate, analyze, and visualize your data yourself in Excel. What would you comment and what would you add to that? Strong starting point. And here it's given some further arguments for learning and mastering Excel. You need to speak the language of data. Human judgment can't be automated. Speed and independence. Independence. When you know Excel, you can solve 80% of your day-to-day problems immediately without waiting for AI, IT, or a data team. So that's a good point. AI and Excel is a power combo. The real magic is combining them and career credibility in being Excel fluent. So the line I'd use, AI can speed things up, but Excel mastery gives you the judgment, the independence, and the credibility to know what to ask and whether the answer makes sense. Excel is the gym, AI is the trainer. If you never build the muscles, you'll never get the full benefit. Okay, and then it's asking me if I want a LinkedIn style post on this. So isn't this just amazing, amazing, amazing? I think it's absolutely mind blowing. All right. So guys, at this point, um, we got a few minutes till 11 o'clock. I'm going to ask you a couple of things. Firstly, I'm going to ask Abby to put up a poll to see if you guys are keen to engage with us further to explore some potential training, AI and or Excel training for your team. All right. And then the second question is, and you can choose both, you can tick both. Um, do you want us to register you for next week's ChatGPT Masterclass? Maybe you're already registered, or maybe you want us to do it for you. So the quickest, easiest way to get this information from you is just to get you to complete this poll. So thank you to everyone who's answering that. And again, a huge thank you to Abby for all the support, and a huge thank you to each of you for being here, for pitching, for showing up, and for enabling us to do what we do and what we love. All right, because without you, there would be no Excel Masterclass, there would be no Excel Academy. All right, so we will still continue to offer you guys as much value as possible to make things fun, to make things practical and accessible, and to help as many people as possible to work smarter. All right, I do sincerely hope to see you in our ChatGPT Masterclass next week, same time. All right, so it's next Thursday, the 25th of September, payday, and that'll be at 10 a.m. It's the day after the public holiday. So last thing I'm going to ask you is, before you go, if you can drop us a line in the chat, a line or two, let us know, how was this? Did you enjoy it? What was the big game changer? Were there any real light bulb moments in Excel or in ChatGPT or both that you're going to apply into your work immediately? Okay, so I'd love to hear from you. Okay, and then Michelle has asked, she's going to be on leave next week. You can still register and you can watch the recording. All right, and we're looking like we're getting into a rhythm of a monthly free ChatGPT masterclass, just like we're doing with Excel. All right, Vilna, yes, you've attended the ChatGPT one before. All right, Geraldine, you learned quite a few tips and tricks that have always bothered you. Okay, well, for things that have always bothered you. All right. Janine, you loved the demo on the shortcuts. Very useful. Thank you so much. Great stuff. Bongi loved the cell phone number formatting and found it informative. Techofatso says, great session, learned a few new tricks. All right. Okay, great stuff. Nice and punctual. It's 10:59, so we're going to wrap up shortly. I'll leave it open just for those of you still typing in the chat. Okay. Okay, Vilna says exercise shortcut still a mouth tunny. Love that. Peter says good shortcut. Thanks. Chavato says great session, learned a few new tricks. And Bulelwa says the shortcuts were helpful, cleaning up data that I didn't know before. Great stuff. Okay, Hendrik once more. All right, we'll be in touch. Vilna says great to learn the formatting on table. Thanks, great session. All right. Peter Hill says text to numbers. Okay, that's something that we can explore offline, maybe drop us a line via email. Avi has just put all of our contacts there. So add us on LinkedIn, connect, stay in touch. We're posting quite frequently on LinkedIn these days, interesting stuff, largely around AI as well. All right. And so definitely be in touch. You'll see our website there and our email address as well, info@excelacademyinc.com. All right, guys, I'm going to love and leave you. Have an awesome rest of your day. Thank you again to everyone for being here.